Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and now that my two obligatory informative videos are done for the day, it's time to talk about current events in the online fitness community. So let me put on my +5 hat of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about Junkie Wart. Good old Junkie. Which some people awared me of, multiple people awared me of this morning, that Junkie Wart is claiming, with yet another clickbait title, that BCAAs, which are branched chain amino acids, are cancer fuel. Now, he's been known for making some clickbait titles that I've had to cover in the last year. Some of his more famous ones that he found out that he's African because he did a DNA test and it turned out he's 1% African, so therefore he's black. The one where he claimed that basketball is not cardio. That almost seems like a contradiction. But, you know, all that aside, his newest one, that branched chain amino acids are cancer fuel. Now, here's my interesting question here. Since he's saying that they are cancer fuel, he's concerned about that, I have to wonder, is he going to quit selling whey protein? Is he going to quit taking, and is he going to quit marketing whey protein? Because 25% of the protein in whey protein is actually from branched chain amino acids. It is one of the highest natural sources. Now, what's interesting is that he's saying the reason it's cancer fuel, this is where he breaks out that big brain of his, which incidentally, he's looking a little better. He's regained some fat in his face. You guys notice that in that video? I haven't looked and I haven't seen him in about a month. And I noticed in that video his face is filling back out. He's gone back on a little bit of a bulk. Doesn't look quite like the Crypt Keeper anymore, but he's still got that tumor on the side of his head. Jerry, you need to get that thing biopsied. I would get that Cocoa Puff biopsy just to be safe. While we're on the topic, because cancer is serious business. I really shouldn't joke about stuff like that. I've lost loved ones to cancer, people who I cared about a lot, and it's actually pretty terrible. So I'm not going to make any further jokes like that about cancer or anything like that. That's probably not cool. But we need to talk about what it is that he says. Is that a 380 mixed into my 9mm? Get that out of there. Where we have a problem. It could be an accident. All right. But he said that because it can convert to sugar. He also said that just shows you how powerful branched chain amino acids are to energy. See, that they're not really about retaining muscle. They're not about gaining muscle or recovery. Actually, they are. You need branched chain amino acids to build muscle. You need a certain amount of leucine to get anabolic signaling to have any muscle growth at all. So I'm not sure where he came up with that. Now, in isolation, they don't do that. We know that. The research has now shown that just taking branched chain amino acids does zero for any of those things. We know that. It has to be part of a complex matrix. That's why when it's in whey protein, it actually is anabolic, right? When it's in whey protein, it is because it is with the full set of complete amino acids. But if you just take it by itself without a complementing amount of all the essential amino acids, they don't have any anabolic effect. Zero. Absolutely zero. And they have no recovery effects either at that point. Even when IV infused into people, directly in studies. And there's good meta-analysis on that. So they really need to be, basically what that's saying is they need to be part of a food already. That foods that are high in branched chain amino acids can give you a nice anabolic signal. And there's truth to that. But just taking them by themselves, completely useless. But he went over to the point to say that that shows how powerful they are as a fuel source. Because, you know, glucose is the body's preferred fuel source. And in fact, for high intensity activity is the only thing you can burn. In other words, lifting weights, glucose is the only fuel source that you can use to lift weights or sprint or do anything explosive, right? That's it. Well, here's the problem with that. He's trying to make that into a big deal. Do you know how many branched chain amino acids you would need to consume to fuel a weight training session? Like, you would go broke. It would break most of you. You guys don't make that type of money. I mean, if you want to get some glucose in your system, you know a fast way to do it? Eat some rice. Because branched chain amino acids, like other proteins, are only capable of converting into glucose at about a 40% rate. So in other words, to get 100 calories of carbohydrates, which isn't very much, from branched chain amino acids, you would need to consume over 200 calories from branched chain amino acids. That's over 50 grams. Right, your typical serving is 5 grams. So no, they're not a very efficient fuel source, which kind of comes back to the other point. He says, well, because they can convert to glucose, and glucose is what cancer cells eat. Kind of goes back to the point. To get the amount of glucose calories out of branched chain amino acids that you could get from a slice of bread or an apple, you know, that's it, just that amount, you're looking at least 10 servings of this stuff, which is still a relatively insignificant amount. And he made such a big deal about it, so therefore they're fuel for cancer. What an absurd statement. This is Jerry Ward logic, though, guys. Kind of goes back to my other point. You guys remember all his stories in the past about all the insane amounts of recreational drug he admitted to using, including a sheep narcotic. He admitted to being addicted to a sheep narcotic. I mean, you need to step back and already question the train of thought that a human being has to have to go get a sheep narcotic and start injecting it into their own body. Okay? Not even designed for human use. This is the level of logic we're dealing with. That also then, because it can convert to sugar, that it also can be cancer fuel. Well, here's the problem with that. He also promotes ketogenic diets. What did we find out about 3 years ago? Remember, he even mentioned in this, well, we need to look at ketogenic diets for fighting cancer. I said that years ago until more data came out. You know what unfortunately happened? I used to say, yeah, there could be promising research on this. It is being looked into. It's being studied because there's a possibility that cancer cells can't burn ketones, and so slightly lower circulating glucose could help. It might help. They found that it doesn't. Furthermore, further research showed that a lot of types of cancers can actually use ketones for fuel. Not only that, they found that there were cancer cells in the human body that were converting some of their glucose they were taking in into ketones, or breaking down ketone bodies from fatty acids in the blood, and then expelling ketones to feed other cancer cells near them. So actually, ketogenic diets don't help either. So cancer cells, it turns out, can actually burn glucose and ketones. Why isn't he talking about ketogenic diets being cancer fuel? In fact, out of all the foods that you consume, proteins actually have the least ability on a calorie per calorie basis to actually feed cancer. They can, just less than the other things can. Less than fats because of the ketone aspect on a ketogenic diet, and less than carbs. Incidentally, fructose can't directly feed them either. It's got to be processed by the liver first. They don't absorb fructose. Which is ironic because processed sugars are usually 50% fructose. Just food for thought. But again, this is the level of logic we're dealing with. This is Jerry. He doesn't keep up with the research. He doesn't know what the science says. He's 10 years behind on everything as a general rule. And, it takes him 10 years to process it and get caught up with it. But, the other thing to consider, he went through all of this trouble. But then, what was he admitting to a few years ago? Remember the conversation he and I had? And I shared it publicly. He admitted it was true. We know that. But he was using a bunch of IGF-1. What is the one PED that seems to have, that researchers agree, has the highest probability of causing cancer? Directly using IGF-1, the drug IGF-1. Highest chance of anything out there being used for performance and muscle building that could actually cause cancers. IGF-1. He used a bunch of it. Furthermore, he promoted BioGrow. promoted BioGrow because it acted like IGF-1 in the body the way he described. Of course, he was using IGF-1 admittedly at the same time. And why was he promoting BioGrow? Because BioGrow was IGF-1 isotopes that you could digest orally, which is actually high circulating IGF-1 levels have the highest growth response of cancer cells of anything we've ever found. Where's the logic in that? When's he going to talk about that? When's he going to say, hey, I promoted a lot of products that actually really are cancer fuel if they work the way that they're advertised to work? You don't see him talking about that. He doesn't admit that he has directly injected substances that researchers generally agree have the highest chance of causing cancer of any drugs that bodybuilders and athletes use. He's used plenty of those. But he wants to talk about branched chain amino acids of all things. It seems to be oblivious to the other stuff. Question I ask with some of this is the level of knowledge that he has regarding even his own health. Let that sink in. People listen to him. That's pretty scary. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.